Wells' life began in the most tragic of ways. One dark, storm-ridden night, a devastating car accident shattered her world and left her alone in the wreckage. The storm had claimed everything: her parents, her family, her past. When the rain finally ceased and the winds grew quiet, a lone figure, battered and broken, remained the child. Wealth, barely clinging to life, was found in the ruins of the crash by a kind-hearted woman named Neka. The woman, with no knowledge of the girl's identity or her lineage, acted purely on instinct, taking the fragile child into her arms. Neka, a widow who had lost her own children years before, could not bear to leave the girl to die in the storm. She carried Wealth back to her home, promising silently that she would be loved and cared for as her own. Neka treated Wealth as her own, without question, without knowing her past, and raised her alongside her two biological children, Ada and Obi. Wealth grew up unaware of her true identity. Neka, who named her Wealth, loved the girl like a precious gem, a gift from the heavens in an otherwise dark world. For Wealth, Neka's love was the only truth she knew. It was a life built on warmth, affection, and the security of a mother's embrace. But deep inside, there lingered a gnawing emptiness, a feeling that something important was missing. Though she was loved, her heart sometimes ached with an unspoken pain, one that whispered of a past she could never fully recall. The name Wealth felt too good to be true, a symbol of everything she lacked, though she didn't know what. Her parents' memory was a blur, an indistinct shadow lost to the past. But Neka's love never wavered. She raised Wealth with tenderness, not knowing the girl was destined for something far greater than the village could offer. Little did Neka know that the storm that took the life of her daughter would birth a queen in the child she now called her own. Wealth grew into a beautiful, intelligent young woman, one who captured the attention of everyone around her. The world seemed to marvel at her grace, but Wealth never saw herself as anything special. She was just a girl from a small village, raised by a kind woman who gave her everything. She never knew what it felt like to belong to a family of nobility. Her heart was content, or so she told herself. Education was her escape, her promise to herself that she could build a future for Neka, Ada, and Obi. When she completed high school, her brilliance carried her far. Despite the lack of formal lineage, Wealth excelled academically, securing a scholarship to a prestigious university in Lagos. With hope and ambition in her heart, she bid Neka a tearful goodbye, vowing to return as a woman of substance. University life was a whirlwind, a vast world outside her small village, and yet something still felt incomplete. There were moments when she would hear whispers of royalty, or feel the gaze of strangers who looked at her too long, but she brushed it off. After all, she was just Wealth, a common girl with dreams. When she graduated, her heart filled with pride, knowing her efforts would help the family that raised her. She applied to a prominent company in Surulere, Lagos, hoping to prove that she was capable of more than just village life. It was her chance to build a future, but what she didn't know was that the past was already catching up to her. Wealth's entry into the corporate world was met with mixed reactions. People at the company whispered among themselves. Her beauty and elegance seemed otherworldly, as though she had stepped straight out of a royal portrait. Her grace was undeniable. It wasn't long before colleagues began to ask questions she didn't know how to answer. "Are you sure you're not from royal blood?" they would ask, as if they could see something in her eyes that she herself couldn't. "No, I'm just a commoner," she'd reply with a soft smile, brushing it off as a compliment, though deep inside, something stirred. There was an unease in those questions, as though they were trying to peel away a layer of her that wasn't visible to the naked eye. But Wealth did not entertain their curiosity. After all, she had nothing to hide. But every day, their questions gnawed at her. Why did they look at her like that? Why did people treat her differently? She was no one special. She pushed it all aside, focusing on the work in front of her. Yet each time someone asked, her heart raced, a silent frustration building within her. It wasn't just idle curiosity, it felt like a demand, an accusation that she couldn't fulfill. She longed to tell them she was just a girl, no different from anyone else. But the mystery of who she was remained unanswered, and that, too, felt like a heavy burden. It wasn't long before a chance for a promotion came, an opportunity to represent the company in London. The CEO, a striking woman known as Madame Kofo, took notice of Wealth. When their eyes met, there was something unspoken between them, a recognition that sent a shiver down both of their spines. Madame Kofo's gaze lingered a moment too long, and when she asked Wealth her name, something inside her stirred. Wealth, the young woman answered, her voice calm but filled with an unspoken weight. Madame Kofo froze. "Are you sure that's your name?" she asked, her voice tight, almost strangled with something Wealth couldn't understand. "Yes, it's Wealth," the young woman repeated, unsure of the tension in the air. The CEO waved it off, dismissing the moment, but in the back of her mind, a memory stirred, one that made her restless. There was something too familiar about this young woman, something that she could not place. It was a connection, fleeting yet undeniable, and it would haunt Madame Kofo's thoughts in the days to come. It wasn't long before Madame Kofo became obsessed. The resemblance between Wealth and someone from her past was too strong to ignore. But what was it? Why did Wealth's presence leave her breathless, as though a long-forgotten secret was awakening? One fateful afternoon, as Wealth was finishing her work, a woman approached her in the office. The woman's voice trembled with emotion. "Benita," she cried, her hand shaking. Wealth was stunned. "I am not Benita," she replied, confusion painting her features. But the woman wasn't having it. "Yes, you are. I know you are Benita, the lost princess. I've been looking for you all these years." She grabbed Wealth's hand and led her to an old office where a dusty photo rested in a forgotten frame. Wealth stared at the picture, her heart pounding. She saw a young woman, a queen, standing beside a king and a little girl, a girl that looked just like her. The woman wept. "You don't remember, do you?" she whispered. "You were taken from us, from your royal family, after the accident. Your parents died, but you were saved." The truth, buried deep for so long, began to surface. Wealth's mind raced. She had no memories, no recollection of this royal lineage, yet the recognition in the woman's eyes was undeniable. She was the lost princess. The woman revealed that she was the late CEO's sister, Madame Kofo's sibling. She had been searching for Wealth for years, haunted by dreams of her late sister and the promise to protect her daughter. Madame Kofo, though she had raised the company with wisdom, had never known her niece's fate until now. "Wealth," the woman said, her voice trembling with grief, "you are the heir to the throne. There's a seat hidden here, an ancient king's seat, that will reveal the truth of who you are." Wealth's heart raced with disbelief. Could it be true? Could this life she had lived in ignorance be just a lie, a cruel twist of fate? "Sit in it," the woman urged, "and the truth will be revealed." Wealth, with trembling hands, sat upon the seat. The room seemed to shift, and suddenly her voice changed. It was as though the voice of her mother spoke through her with authority, with strength. "Wealth," the woman gasped, recognizing her sister's voice. "It's really you." As Wealth processed this revelation, her world was torn asunder once again. Cynthia, Madame Kofo's jealous and power-hungry sister, arrived at the office to find Wealth sitting in the king's seat. She recoiled in horror. "What are you doing here, you impostor?" she shouted. "You have no right to sit there. You are nothing." Cynthia's anger boiled over as she shoved Wealth aside. "Leave this place. You're nothing but a fraud. You have no claim to this seat, to this company, to anything." She snatched the office key from Wealth's trembling hands and handed her a letter of termination. Wealth's heart sank in shock, but something deep within her sparked. She had no time for fear. She would no longer let Cynthia's cruelty rule her life. Madame Kofo, furious with her sister's betrayal, took matters into her own hands. She sought the truth about Wealth's heritage, discovering that the king's seat indeed held the power to reveal someone's true identity. It was a relic of the royal family, and when Wealth sat upon it, the world shifted. The truth was undeniable. Cynthia's lies were exposed. Her cruel attempt to sabotage Wealth's rise to the throne was uncovered. She was arrested, dragged away, and taken to prison. In a tense company meeting, Wealth, under Madame Kofo's guidance, sat upon the king's seat once more. Her voice, now clear and strong, echoed through the room, speaking as her late mother had. Cynthia, she commanded, tell the truth. You betrayed your family, and now you will face the consequences. Cynthia stood frozen, her face pale with terror, and finally, her lies fell apart. The truth spilled from her lips, and with it, her power crumbled. She was taken away in chains. With Cynthia gone, Wealth was crowned the rightful heir. Madame Kofo stood by her side, ensuring that the legacy of the royal family would not fade. Wealth became the new CEO of the company, leading with wisdom, compassion, and strength, knowing that the family she had always longed for was finally by her side. And so, Wealth's journey from tragedy to triumph was complete, her true identity no longer a mystery. The world would remember her as not just Wealth, but as the lost princess who became the queen she was always meant to be.